good morning. I hope that you are all well. Today is a special day for Hands Across the Sea samplers, and we hope that it's going to be a special day for you too. Today we release the next in our series of Little Gems, which are PDF downloads. We are delighted to present to you this sweet Welsh sampler, stitched by Anne Matthews when she was 10 years of age in 1859. The top of the sampler has a very charming Adam and Eve scene. There's no serpent on the tree of knowledge. And each side of the tree of knowledge is slightly different. We have two different trees with two different animals in the trees. On the one side we have a squirrel, on the other side we have a bird. At the bottom of the sampler we have this very colourful scene of Margam Church and two magnificent carnations. Now, Anne has stitched Margam Church in very great detail, and it's a very accurate depiction of the church. She put a lot of work into that church and getting it just right. Margam Church is in South Wales, in Glamorgan, and it's about 30 minutes from where I grew up and spent the first 40 years of my life, and that's what caught my eye when I first saw the sampler. And the more I looked at this sampler, the more I loved it. It is truly a piece of a child's artwork. Very, very delightful. Let me tell you a little bit more about the sampler. Well, the sampler is stitched in cross stitch over 2, with the exception of the words Margam Church. But for those people who do not like stitching over 2 threads or would like to stitch this on Ada, what I have done is I have recharted the words for you so that you can replace the over 1 words with over 2 words, just to make it a little bit easier for you. Her sampler really is very, very pretty. But let me tell you a little bit about the technical side of her sampler. Now, this is a little bit bigger than normal for a Little Gem, and I must admit that when she went into production, she was never intended as a Little Gem, because Little Gems, weren't even on our radar. We just thought that she was perfect because she is a sampler that a needleworker of any ability, or even just picking up a needle for the first time to stitch their first sampler, could stitch. So she just fell into perfectly into being a Little Gem. We've kept her price to £10. All the Little Gems at the moment are priced at £10. We realise that these are hard times for many, many people. People are out of work, their income has been impacted in many different ways, so we're trying to keep these as priced as low as we possibly can, and she is excellent value at £10. Now, her design area is 178 stitches by 217,217. If you decided to stitch her on 28 count fabric, which would be 14 count Ada, she would measure 12.71 by 15.5. If you stitched her on 36 count linen, which would be 18 count Ada, she would be 9.89 by 12.06 inches. And if you stitched her on 46 count, she would be 7.74 by 9.43 inches, and the model is stitched on 46 count. Sue, my friend Susan Hyde, who stitched the model, this was her first time stitching on 46 count, and the very first time that she used Over Soie's 103 threads, and she loved both. We used Weeks Zweigart-based linen in parchment, but if you wanted to use a different brand of linen or Ada, the colour of the linen is closest to DMC shades 904 and 321. Now, the sampler uses 17 colours, and I do have to tell you that not all of the Auvert Arsoir 103 or d'Alger colours are in stock at the moment. Some stores may have them, but the distributor does not have all the colours. Now, we've had a dilemma over the last couple of weeks. We actually have about 10 samplers completed, waiting to release. But we have not released anything because not one of those projects can the distributors supply every single colour of silk. And it's not because of the want of trying to get those threads and working very actively to get those threads. The distributors have booked dye slots months ago for the majority of our samplers, but Auvert Arsoir in Paris have been really impacted in 2020. First of all, they had the burglary when many cones of silk were stolen, and then France was hit early and very badly by COVID. So production of silk has been impacted, and we have to remember as well that Auvert Arsoir uses the finest silk available for their products, and that silk comes from China. There are all sorts of hold-ups in the supply chain at the moment, and we have to just bear with the needlework industry. Everybody is peddling like mad to get supplies through, but often it's because of reasons beyond anybody's control. Now, I'm just going to digress a little bit from samplers. Last weekend when I made a video, I was waiting for our plumber to come because we had a leak. Well, part of our ceiling was damaged beyond repair, and we had to have the ceiling redone, whatever you call it when you put plaster up on ceilings, and then it had to be skimmed over with plaster. It's unbelievable. You cannot get gypsum plaster in Cornwall at the moment, and it will not be available for several weeks. That's an everyday product. It's just because everything in this world has been turned upside down. I went to the supermarket, and we are very lucky. We have a very large Tesco's in the nearest town to us. They didn't have tomato ketchup, and they didn't have vinegar. Those are two products that you just would never dream that wouldn't be available. It's the times we're living in. So going back to needlework, you might say, well, why are you releasing these samplers if you know we can't get every single colour of silk? Well, some stores may have some skeins of those particular colours, and more importantly, many needleworkers may have those silks in their stash, and we were holding back. And then we had well, I've been having several emails from needleworkers asking where's the next little gem. They were waiting for them. They'd stitched all the others. And when I said to one person, because we know that stores will not be able to kit these up fully, the needleworker said to me, but maybe I have those colours in my stash. I've got part of a skein left over from a previous project, or I've just got the skein there. I might not need to actually buy those. And I thought, what? They're right. So let's release these. If you've got the silk, you can start straight away. If you can only get some of the silks, maybe you can work around them. Or maybe you can actually substitute that colour with a very similar colour. So here is our next little gem. And please, if your store can't get you all the colours, it's not because they're not trying, and it's not because the distributors aren't trying, and it's not because Verassoir aren't working very hard to catch up. Anyway, that was a sort of like a diversion off about Anne. I did say that Anne was a Welsh sampler, and we've actually found out a little bit about Anne. We found our Anne. Now, the sampler was stitched by my very dear friend Susan Hyde, and one of the attractions for Susan about Anne was the fact that we could pinpoint Anne. Susan loves history, and she really enjoyed finding out about Anne and going on a journey of discovery with Anne. It wasn't just Anne's history, it was her taking her needlework journey that little bit further by stepping up to a higher count linen, using a different type of thread, and exploring Anne. And Susan felt so bonded with Anne that when she actually completed Anne's sampler, she felt that she had to take Anne's sampler, her model, to Margam Church, and there's a photograph of Susan with this model outside the church. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert a photograph into this video so you can see how true to life Anne stitched Margam Church. Susan felt so close to Anne that she wanted to write Anne's story herself. So we have included in this booklet just over 3 pages of a story about Anne. And we know that Anne was born in Aberavon, which is a little mining village in the South Wales valleys, very close to Port Talbot. And this is an area that was a very beautiful area of lush green rolling valleys that were transformed by the mining and the steel and copper industries. And they went from these beautiful areas to dreadful places to live, where there was cholera and typhus and tremendous poverty. I came from a small mining village, and when I was a young child, I can remember the valleys were black with coal dust. They're not like that now. If you go to South Wales, you will see some fabulous countryside. We find Anne in the 1851 census living with her father and her grandparents and 2 brothers and a sister. Her mother had died. And we don't know what her mother died of, but it could well have been childbirth or typhus or cholera. Those were the usual causes of early death among women in the South Wales mining valleys. Susan writes extensively about life for Anne, and she really brings the period to life in her booklet. So I hope that you enjoy reading the story that Susan wrote. And Susan finishes her story saying, Any further record of Anne are missing, and her trail ends. However, she will always live on through this beautiful sampler, and I hope you enjoy stitching her as much as I have, and now feel that you know a little bit more about Anne's world. I really do hope that when you download the PDF that you will enjoy reading every single word that that Susan wrote about Anne. Now, what do you get with the download? Well, for your £10, you get a 27-page download. And what I would recommend is that once you've purchased her, you will receive an automatic computer-generated email that will contain a link. Click on the link, the download will open. Don't try printing it from there. Save it to your computer or your tablet or your phone, and then select what you want to print. You won't want to print it all, because within this download we give you options. You get a 9-page colour chart, and you get a 9-page black and white symbol chart, so you can download whichever you prefer to stitch from. And you will also get a colour and a black and white symbol additional graph with the words Markham Church charted over 2 threads. If you're going to stitch them over one, you won't need to download those pages. So that's what you get for your £10. And Anne is available on our website to download now. And she is also available from selected stores in the UK, Australia, Canada and the US. If your needlework store hasn't made contact with us to have access to the downloads, suggest to them that they do. Just because we're doing downloads doesn't mean to say that stores can't retail those downloads as well. I think that really is about all I can tell you about Anne. And if I go on any more, I'm going to waffle. Let's just have one more quick look at her. You can never stop looking at a beautiful sampler. I love the little touches of duck egg blue within this red of the border. She's so pretty, so feminine and delicate, those colours. Although they're sort of vibrant, they are delicate, carefully chosen colours. I think Anne had a nice touch with the design of her sampler and the colours that she chose. Anyway, stay safe, stay well, and until the next time, bye-bye.